So
Let's do that.
welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Mark Gilfix. This is Michael Gilfix, and we are here to talk about special needs planning. The topic here is so critical. If there's anybody in your life with a disability, with special needs, these are issues and topics you need to be aware of. And as we jump in, we want you to just take a moment to think about what drove you to join us here today. Are you worried about how to protect and support your child after you're gone? I think every parent has that concern, but particularly if you have a child with special needs. And you're worried about saving your home for your child. Do you just feel overwhelmed? There's so much information out there. It's so hard to figure this stuff out. And we're here to help. And the concepts we're here to talk about can truly change your family's future. That's how important these issues are. And I think a lot of you may relate to this. A lot of our clients in the special needs planning space feel this: I'm afraid to die. They feel like they're helpless, that once they're gone, no one will be there to take care of that special needs child. And that's where we can come in. When you have to walk out, that's where your special needs trust can come in to take your place. So what are we going to go through here today?
Now, let's take a minute and just give you a sense of what we're going to cover. Can't cover everything, but we have a whole lot. Okay, so we're going to talk about the basics of government benefits, primers. What are the benefits that are available to an individual who is disabled, meaning they can't make a living working? We're certainly going to talk about the operation of special needs trusts. What do they do? How liberally can the money in a trust be used? How do you create it? What roles do key people play in the trust? We're certainly going to touch upon Prop 19, which is now law in the state of California. It has a dramatic and potentially devastating impact on home ownership that you might envision as an ongoing resource for a child with special needs after you pass. And obviously, we're going to focus on what steps you can take. What do you do to capture benefits, to be sure that you're doing putting in place the best possible plan for your child? A lot to cover.
The lot to cover, and this is an educational webinar. This is not legal advice. We are lawyers, but of course we can't provide any legal advice unless we're actually serving you directly. So this is an informational webinar meant to educate and empower you. And that's what we hope you can take away from here today. So just want to take a moment about our firm. For many of you may know us. For those of you who don't, that picture in the top right is my mom, Myra Gerson Gilfix, my grandpa, it's me. When I was 4, how old was I there, Dad? I don't know.
Oh, wow. You were a brilliant 4-year-old, I believe. Yeah.
Well, I'm Mark Gilfix. This is Michael Gilfix. Obviously, this is a family forum. We're not the only attorneys. We have 6 other wonderful and incredible attorneys. We all work as a team, but I think really importantly, we're national leaders in this space. Mike and I co-authored a book called The Special Needs Trust Creation and Management Guide. It's available on Amazon. We write about these issues. We speak about them. We appear in the media. We're very proud of our heritage. We've been in the Palo Alto area for over 38 years. We served thousands of families throughout California. Really, anyone in California, we can work with you, from San Diego up to Wairika. And we have worked with families throughout the state. And I think really critically, our history is pretty compelling. When Mike graduated from the Stanford Law School in 1973, he wanted to change the world and help people. He didn't join a big law firm. And he created America's first free legal aid program for the elderly, SALA, Senior Adults Legal Assistance. And he created one of America's first free legal aid programs for individuals with disabilities, the Disability Law Center. I think that was in 1976. I believe we were the second firm in the state of California to do a special needs trust, or what's now known as a special needs trust. I serve on the board of the Pacific Autism Center for Education. Very proud of that. Mike's been on the boards of so many organizations. So we live and breathe this stuff. And our goal is to provide extraordinary value and peace of mind about your child's future. That's what we're all about. We want to empower you with this information. And hopefully you'll get a lot out of this, and hopefully we'll get the chance to help you as well. So on that note, let's go through a mystery to start exploring these issues. Tom and Sarah versus Mike and Eve. So imagine them in the same situation. Tom and Sarah, Mike and Eve, father and mother. Each of them has a daughter with special needs. Each of them leaves $1 million for the benefit of their daughter, but very different outcomes. So Tom and Sarah, they leave $1 million for their daughter, Jane. When they pass away, Jane's public benefits stop. Assets left for her are exposed. Her representatives have to go to court. They have to take a bunch of steps to protect her inheritance. And when Jane passes away, the state of California gets to go after all the money that's left from her inheritance. It doesn't go to any other family members. Mike and Eve, different story. When they pass away, funds are protected for their daughter. Her public benefits continue. A trusted third party oversees assets. And when Kate passes away, assets that are left go to her siblings and their children rather than to the state of California. Now, how can this be? What's the mystery? What did Mike and Eve do that Tom and Sarah didn't? We're going to explore that.
So let's take a minute and just get a couple of data points that really make a very profound point about the future of special needs planning and what resources are going to be available. So in 2012, 1 in 68 kids were on the autism spectrum. 2012, 1 in 68. We go 6 years later, 2018, 1 in 59. Now, this is a dramatic increase in the number of individuals who were born who are on the autism spectrum. So the point here is that not only in the world of autism, but generally speaking, the world of disabled individuals has grown enormously over the last decade or two. Have resources from government programs and nonprofits kept pace? Absolutely not. Not even close. Regional centers are struggling, for example. It's a challenge. It emphasizes the need for special needs trust planning, coordinating government benefits eligibility with what you can do to take care of your child. It's not a matter of only government benefits, not a matter of only your money, coordinating things to address reality, which again is the enormous demand and the inappropriate response, which is government resources not nearly being enough. It's up to us to take care of these things. So next, let's take a quick look at this. This is an incomplete list of the diagnoses of individuals we've taken care of in the work that we've been doing. It's an enormous number. There are syndromes, cried to shake. There's syndromes on here you've never heard of. And every time we think that we've seen it all, somebody walks in the door with another diagnosis that we've never heard before. So the point here is, honestly, I don't know of any other law firm in the country, let alone the state, that has dealt with more challenges, more diagnoses. And special needs trust planning is not one size fits all. Different disabilities present different issues. Different trusts have different elements because they're responsive to the needs of the individual. So the message to take from this is that experience matters. Maybe your family has a child with a diagnosis that fits here. Maybe it doesn't. But comprehensively, we've seen not everything, but as much as or more than anyone else.
And I think many people related to that can relate to this. A diagnosis changes everything. When you have a loved one or a child who faces a diagnosis, my family's faced this too, your world shifts on its axis. Things that used to seem important are no longer important. Things you never even thought about before are critical and central to everything that you have to do. And that's the core of what this planning is about. It's about putting the legal tools into place to be sure that you're doing everything you can to deal with that diagnosis over the long term, at least from the legal and financial planning side of things. So let's talk about public benefits.
Yeah, let's take a hop, skip, and a jump through the basic government programs that are available. We'll call it a primer. We could spend 2.5 hours on the points on this slide. So, okay, SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. If you worked and you worked for enough quarters, you've earned Social Security. And if you're under 65, disabled, can't work, you'll qualify for SSDI. You might get $600 a month. You might get $1,200, $2,000. Depends on how long you work and how much you put into the system. The important point is this is a program that is not needs-based. In other words, you could be a multimillionaire, have unlimited money in the bank, but if you become disabled, you'll get this benefit because it depends on whether you worked and paid into the system. Now, SSI, Supplemental Security Income, totally different. That's a needs-based program. To qualify, you can't have more than $2,000 in countable assets. So it is needs-based. As we'll see in a moment, it's a little over $1,000 a month that it provides to you. Medicare. If you get SSDI 2 years later, you get Medicare. Again, you've earned it. You've paid into the system. Not a needs-based program. Medicaid, which we call Medi-Cal here in California, like SSI, is needs-based. So you don't qualify unless you have limited resources. This law is changing dramatically, by the way, in California. But for now, $2,000, think of that as the limit. If you get SSI, you automatically get Medi-Cal. There are many other programs. We could have 12 other programs listed here. Some deal with in-home services to take care of you at home. Some provide housing options, many. But the point is, some programs are needs-based, some are not. Our job is to make sure that everything fits, that everything is coordinated as we move forward.
Yeah, and I see we have a number of good questions. We're going to try to get to those at the end. We have a lot to get through here, but please feel free to enter questions in the Q&A function if you're watching this live. And related to that, we get this question a lot. This actually was one of the questions that we got in the Q&A function already, was what type of disability do you have to qualify for these public benefits? And the answer is actually simpler than you might think. It really just relates to an inability to maintain substantial gainful employment. So there's no list of diagnoses that you need. It's really just some certification from experts that say that because of this condition or this behavioral issue or whatever, someone cannot maintain substantial gainful employment. They can't support themselves with full-time work. It can be a physical or mental disability. It can even include a drug addiction or alcoholism. And I like to make this point. Being disabled for purposes of government benefits eligibility does not mean someone is incompetent. It doesn't mean they are incapacitated. It doesn't mean they can't make decisions. There really shouldn't be a stigma about this. It's a very legal definition, and you don't need to fit too specific a range of diagnoses. You also, as Mike says, this is not really related to the definition of disability, but many of these programs, in addition to this type of being disabled, you have to have under $2,000 in countable assets in order to be eligible for these needs-based programs like Medi-Cal and SSI. So there should be no stigma attached to this disability term, but this is how the law looks at it.
Let's take a quick look at SSI. We've mentioned this. This is the income program. So the concept here is that if you can't work, the government is going to give you enough money theoretically to live on. Now, a little over $1,000 a month in the Bay Area, you can't live on that. But nevertheless, that's the amount of money that it's better than nothing, right? So it is a benefit. It is significant. If someone is getting SSI, you have to be careful about how you help them. If you give them money, they actually have to report that, and it could result in decrease in their. You pay bills for an individual with SSI, and it's really not a problem. You just have to kind of be smart about it, be educated. Our book does a really good job of explaining this, by the way. SSI theoretically pays for your food and your shelter, like rent and food. $1,000 a month, can't happen.
Yeah.
So if you provide free rent, your SSI check is actually
I think we're having some technical issues for Mike.
It's just a matter of knowing what the system allows and how to coordinate it.
Yeah, let me just repeat, because I think Mike may have cut out for a second.
Oh.
The point he was making there was SSI, if you are getting outside sources of funds to pay for rent or food, technically those are supposed to disallow SSI. It doesn't eliminate your benefits. It just reduces what you get each month. So I think you got a little bit cut off there, Mike. Just wanted to cover that.
Oh, sure.
Now the ABLE Act.
Yeah, let me talk about the ABLE Act and signal if I get cut out. Here we are in Palo Alto, high-tech center, and we always have internet problems. It's astounding. Okay, the ABLE Act, that's federal law. It was created quite a few years ago. It has been implemented in California. So this is not a game changer, but it's helpful. It enables any individual to put up to $16,000. We're $1,000 behind here, a little low, up to $16,000 a year into an account called an ABLE Act account. In California, no surprise, we call it CalABLE. Up to $16,000 a year, and it can build up to $100,000. It doesn't interfere with eligibility for government benefits, even though theoretically you can have more than $2,000. The money can be used very liberally. What's really cool about it for so many people is the disabled individual can actually manage the money, can spend the money, can control the money if appropriate. So it is wonderful to understand it. Sometimes it plays a really critical role. Sometimes not. It doesn't replace a special needs trust, nothing like that. It is liberal in the use of the money. You need to know about it and just see how it fits. So when we put together a plan, one of the questions is always, is there a role for an ABLE Act?
Mhm.
account? If so, who should run it? If so, how much money would go into it?
Yeah, and
Got to
just
know
some
about it.
down. Yeah, another upside is money can grow with some tax benefits, tax free within the account. Now, the downside is if you get over $100,000, that's a problem. All of a sudden, it can interfere with eligibility. And if there's money left in an ABLE Act account when someone passes away, the state of California can go after that. So again, it doesn't replace special needs trusts. Now, we get this question a lot. I have, a son on the autism spectrum, but my daughter gets along with him well. She's thriving. I don't think I need a special needs trust or anything. I'll just leave the money to her, and I know she'll take care of her brother. Don't do this. Don't leave money to your non-disabled child to take care of the child with a disability. Why? Lawsuits, divorce, expenses, life happens. You can't predict what will happen to your children. Now, what if you leave money to that daughter to take care of her brother and she gets sued? What if she goes bankrupt? What if she's bad at managing money? What if she gets robbed? What if she gets a divorce? So many things can go wrong to take that money away from her. And what if she just has high expenses for her family? You're putting her in a position where down the road she may have to decide between paying for her kid to go to preschool or to get daycare or taking care of her brother. You don't want to put a child in that position where they have to decide between taking care of their own family, their own needs, or using money to take care of their sibling. Don't do that. Instead, create that special needs trust, and a sibling can be in charge of that for their special needs sibling. But don't leave money to a child expecting that they'll just use it to take care of their sibling. Now, what do you do instead? Well, we alluded to this. Create a special needs trust. This is the heart of special needs planning. Again, our book, The Management and Creation of Special Needs Trust, talks about this in more detail, but what is a special needs trust? How do you set it up? What do they include? Well, I just want to set the stage here. A special needs trust is one of the most important documents that you will ever sign. It can provide a lifelong financial safety net and an area of protection for your child with special needs. It is so, so crucial. It is, in very simple terms, it is a trust designed to hold assets for the benefit of a person with a disability without disturbing eligibility for public benefits, and has to be irrevocable. So a properly designed special needs trust, no matter how much money's in it, whether it's $50,000 or $10 million, should not count as belonging to the beneficiary, the person with the disability, for purposes of public benefits eligibility. So we talked about those $2,000 limits for so many programs. If you have a special needs trust holding $10 million, you could still be eligible for one of these needs-based programs because the money in the trust doesn't count as belonging to you or to the person with a disability. So crucial, they do have to be irrevocable once they're set up. It's difficult to change them, but there are a lot of ways we can change them over time, especially before money's in them. And there's a picture of the book that Mike and I co-authored, Special Needs Trust Creation and Management Guide, but that's the key, a special needs trust. Now let's go back to that mystery from earlier, protecting your child. Remember Tom and Sarah versus Mike and Eve. Both of them leave $1 million for their daughter with special needs. Tom and Sarah, because of what they do, Jane loses public benefits, exposed to courts. It's a mess. When she passes away, money goes to the state. Mike and Eve, on the other hand, money's protected for their daughter. She keeps her public benefits. They have a trusted third party overseeing it for her. And when she passes away, the money stays in the family. What is the difference? Well, you may have guessed this. Tom and Sarah didn't set up a special needs trust. They didn't want to deal with it. They didn't think about it. Maybe they didn't know about it. They just left money for their daughter, leaving assets exposed, meaning she was ineligible for public benefits, meaning she may have had to go to court to create a trust, or she had to set up a new trust that wasn't as well structured. Mike and Eve, on the other hand, wisely planned ahead. They created a comprehensive estate plan, and as part of that, created a special needs trust for their daughter, Kate. They did not leave money to Kate. They left it to Kate's special needs trust. So Kate was able to remain on public benefits. A trusted third party oversaw everything for her for the rest of her life. And the money left in the trust when she passed away stayed in the family. The state could not touch it. So it can be a massive, massive difference. And we think of it as a lifelong safety net. It is the most powerful tool available to protect an adult or a child with a disability. They can retain public benefits, including SSI and Medi-Cal. Special needs trust can even hold a home or a property for the benefit. It can address a lifelong cost of care for someone with special needs in a way where someone that you trust or a trusted entity can oversee it for them. So just absolutely critical. you need to set this up. And if you set one up a long time ago, it's crucial to take a fresh look at it every few years to make sure it's set up the right way, to make sure your plan is set up the right way, because costs are high.
So speaking of costs, what a great segue. That was great. We spend a lot of time, as do many economists in the field of special needs planning, focusing on the question of what does it cost to support and give quality of life to an individual who, for example, is on the autism spectrum. What if it's cerebral palsy? What if it's schizophrenia? There's different criteria, different modeling that is done. You need a sense of what it might cost. In other words, how much money would you ideally leave in a special needs trust to take care of your child? So we have the data-based, the study-based numbers that we see. It's quite a range, $1.4 million to $2.4 million if you have a child on the spectrum. That's what it's going to cost to give quality of life. Now, Prop 19, which we'll talk about a little bit later, frankly, depending on the planning steps that you do or don't take, it could double that amount. It could add another $500,000 million to the cost, depending on whether real property is retained. So it's complicated. We also stress the fact that cost in this context means things way beyond money, in addition to money. It's stressful to have a special needs child. Let's face it. That's why the divorce rates for families where there is a special needs child are dramatically higher than divorce rates for families who do not. It's obvious, right? So, we're very cognizant of this, and we know that good planning can address this. It can let you sleep better at night. It can reduce family stress. It can make things just a little bit better. And, just maybe that'll make a critical difference in family dynamics so that things are just a little bit better. So we have to think about what it takes to fund a special needs trust. What's going to be in it to take care of your child? Okay, we need to be sure that we have enough in there. Life insurance. Any attorney, any advisor who has been active in and has experience in the field of special needs knows that life insurance is a logical thing to consider. Now, why? Because it's something you can set up and then with reasonable confidence that it's going to be there. You might lose your home, God forbid. The stock market might go crazy. Well, how about that? I guess that could happen, huh? So we have to be aware of these possibilities. So life insurance, okay. We have an example here of a situation that is real life. This is a real case that we encountered quite a few years ago. The situation was just very human. This was a couple in their 40s. They had two kids, one severely physiologically disabled. It took 2 hours, almost 2 hours, to give that child a single meal. They had to use an eyedropper to get nutrition into that child. It was consuming. It was utterly distracting. They felt they had to leave everything they had to their special needs trust for their special needs child. When they came to significantly, they brought along the mom's parents. They were there to give moral support. When we were talking about this, and they were dealing with the pain of leaving everything for the special needs trust and nothing for their other child, we had a discussion about life insurance. And let me cut to the bottom line. We involved the life insurance professional, and for a $1 million policy, naming the special needs trust as the sole beneficiary, they were given a number of options about how they could fund it. They could annually make premium payments of about $4,300 a month, or one payment of a little over $60,000, and they're done. They chose to make that single premium payment. Thank goodness the grandparents were there and they helped out with about $20,000, $25,000. So the point there is they locked in a policy, named the special needs trust as a beneficiary, and their level of relief was off the charts. You can imagine, for the first time, they felt that they could actually leave a portion of their estate for their other child. It was incredibly emotional, a lot of crying in the room when this was figured out. So, we got to be practical. What's enough? Where's the money going to come from? And this is just one of the resources that you think about.
And if you have questions about this, we work with some life insurance specialists who focus in this area. Among other things, if you have an old life insurance policy, talk to us as well. You can often turn those in for much better new policies with bigger benefits for no cost. It's pretty amazing. So if you have questions about that, talk to us. We can connect you with people who focus on this exclusively. But it's so powerful, because how do you come up with $1 million guaranteed for the benefit of a child? And let's talk about what we call the curse of the small inheritance. So this is where if let's say Mary has a disability, is receiving public benefits, if she receives a small inheritance of let's say $50,000, sounds nice. If she gets that directly, she loses eligibility for public benefits. She's kicked off of them. She has this disruption in her life. She has to use the money to fill the gap that was previously filled by public benefits until that money's gone, until she's eligible for public benefits again. So it's a weird space where if you don't plan properly, your child inheriting money, it can actually be a bad thing. So anytime you set up a special needs trust, one thing we always talk about is let's make sure that anybody else in the family who may want to support your child, that they also know there's a special needs trust, so they don't leave money directly to your child, they leave money to the special needs trust instead. It's not just parents who can leave money to special needs trusts. Now let's talk about two different types of special needs trusts. Generically, there's really two categories: third party and first party. A third party special needs trust, this refers to where the money that ends up in the trust, where it came from. In this case, it came from a third party. It never belonged to the beneficiary. So usually it's a parent sets this up for their child. Usually it's funded when a parent passes away. They say in their own living trust that when I pass away, I'm not leaving money to my daughter, I'm leaving it to her special needs trust. But there are many situations where it makes sense for a parent to put money in that special needs trust while they're still living. There are tax reasons, there are asset protection reasons. And the bottom line is you can leave up to $12.06 million for the benefit of your child or children without a penny of estate or gift taxes. So a lot of money can go from a parent or a grandparent or anybody to a special needs trust without any estate or gift taxes. And as I mentioned, it's not just parents for their kids. It can be a grandparent, it can be an aunt, it can be an uncle for your child. So as we say, when you set up a plan, it's crucial to coordinate with any other family members, especially if you have a sibling of your own who doesn't have kids. A lot of the times an aunt or uncle without kids will leave money to their nieces and nephews. If there is a special needs trust in place, they need to know, and we can help them coordinate. So their plan leaves money to that. And a third party trust, really crucially, the state of California can't touch it. When your child passes away, the money in that trust goes where the trust says it will go. The state cannot go after it. If you say it goes to other kids, it will go to other kids. If you want it to go to a nonprofit, it will go to a nonprofit or a combination of those two. First party, this is what happens when money goes directly to an individual with a disability and they want to set up their own special needs trust. This often happens either when a parent failed to set up a special needs trust in advance, or if you're injured in an accident, you get a big injury settlement. And as a result of the accident, you have a disability. Now, what's the difference? A first party trust, that means the person with the disability themselves, it was their money they put into the trust. If you put money into a trust for yourself, when you pass away, the state of California can go after it. So that's the big difference. And you have to be under 65 years old. And as we say in the last bullet here, the trust has to include a payback provision saying that when the beneficiary passes away, the state of California gets first dibs. So we always want to plan ahead, set up that third party special needs trust. But even if that wasn't done ahead of time, we can still help to create a first party trust. And who oversees it?
Okay, let's talk about this. There might be a 1.5-hour consultation about special needs trust planning, and 30-40 minutes focuses on the choice of the trustee. Now, when you set up a special needs trust for your child, that third party trust that Mark talked about, you're going to be the trustees at the outset. You're in charge. If anybody puts money into it, if you fund it early, you're managing that money. But the key point is who manages that money for your child when you're gone or if you're incapacitated. It's tough. The first choice, ideally, is you have a close, trusted family member who'll do that. Maybe a child, maybe a cousin of the disabled individual, somebody who knows your child, is devoted, willing to serve, cares a whole lot. That's ideal. If you don't
We're having some
find that individual you've known, pardon me?
Yeah, we're having some audio issues. So let's go. I'll try to walk through this until your connection is good again. So yes, a trusted close friend who's very responsible. That's kind of ideal. A family member who is also, the key thing here is someone you trust and someone who's organized and responsible. Ideally, someone who cares about your child or your loved one. And if you don't have anybody in your friend circle, you might look to the professional world. And Mike, do you want to talk about that? I think your connection may be back.
I sure do. There's two professional categories. One is somebody called the professional fiduciary, individuals in the business of serving as trustees, of taking care of funds for someone else. There are many individuals who are willing and eager to serve in this role. Many attorneys are willing to serve as trustees of special needs trusts. So that's the field of professional individuals. And if you don't find somebody in that category that satisfies you, you go to financial institutions, you go to banks. There are many banks that are willing to serve, and some are able, some are not willing, and some are not able. So you have to be careful about the choice of financial institutions. Some have a $2 million minimum. You got to be careful, but that can be an option. Failing that, there are some nonprofits that are willing to serve as trustees. So the real point here is that everybody's different. Every situation is unique, and you have to make sure that you make the right choice, the choice that lets you sleep well at night. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can have a co-trustee, a professional with a family member. The choices are really endless. And as we talked about before a little bit, a special needs trust is not just for kids. Anybody can create a special needs trust virtually for anybody else. We've had adult children set them up for their parents when their parents are facing long-term care needs. We've had brothers or sisters create them for their siblings. We've had grandparents create them for their grandchildren, or people create them for their godchildren. We've had really anything you can think of. We've had people set them up for their friends. So, and a lot of the times it's a friend, maybe you want to leave money to a friend who has a substance abuse issue. You can leave them to a special needs trust for that friend for that issue as well. So the bottom line is the beneficiary of a special needs trust does not need to be related to you. It doesn't have to be your child. It's really a wide range of options for who you can set up a special needs trust. Now, we get this question a lot. My child is young. Maybe they're on the autism spectrum, but they're doing pretty well, but I'm worried they won't be able to work in the future, but maybe they will. You know, I'd say a lot of the best programmers and maybe some of the best CEOs in Silicon Valley are on the spectrum. I think Elon Musk says he's on the spectrum as well. You don't know the future, right? So when in doubt, create the special needs trust. If you create a special needs trust and your child thrives, is working, is earning a ton of money, is a special needs trust that bad a thing? No. One, the trustee, depending on how we structure it, can end the trust and say, look, the beneficiary is doing so well, they don't need this trust anymore. I'm just going to distribute the money to them. Or two, the trust can just continue and you have a trusted third party overseeing assets for the benefit of your child. They can just distribute money pretty freely for your child. So either way, it's not that bad. But let's look at the other side of this. If your child can't work, if you don't have a special needs trust, it's a disaster. You know, we talked about the mess that can cause. But if they do have that special needs trust, they're saved. So, and you can always adjust your plan down the road, but when in doubt, create the special needs trust. It's like an insurance policy. Maybe you won't have to use it, but if when in doubt, create the trust. So what can the special needs trust pay for? Is it limited? I've seen some articles or presentations that kind of indicate it can only pay for things that government benefits don't pay for. That's not really true. It might reduce your SSI benefits a little bit, but a trust absolutely can pay for food and shelter, even though in theory, government benefits are supposed to cover those. But really importantly, it can also cover education expenses, entertainment, counseling, therapy, companionship, aids, medical care, furniture, travel, trips to Vegas, trips to Hawaii, skateboards, video games, all sorts of things that can enhance your child or your loved one's quality of life. So it's not limited to just very strict categories. Now, there are some rules in how you administer it to avoid any issues. But the bottom line is special needs trust can really pay for a broad category of expenses. And you may be thinking, well, Mark, this is all great, but can a special needs trust pay for Britney Spears concert tickets? The answer is yes. I'm sure you are all feeling very relieved to know there's actually a court case where the court actually okayed a special needs trust using money to buy tickets to a Britney Spears concert. I disagree with the opinion just because I don't really like Britney Spears music that much, but hey, more power to them. So that just illustrates the point that a special needs trust can really cover virtually any expense that your child has within reason. So it's not like you're tying someone's hands or making things very difficult. On the flip side of that, housing. And Mike, are you connected?
Well, I'm not sure. Can I be heard?
I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Let's talk about housing and just.
Okay, let's do that. Fear of homelessness is something felt so deeply by so many parents. Often it's in the context of a child with a mental illness, but not exclusively. just not knowing that your child is going to have a safe place to live. I mean, talk about something that can keep you up at night. We're acutely aware of that. We're aware of the government programs that can be available. Section 8 is something you've heard of. A lot of folks actually get together with other parents to create group homes, sometimes within the system where they get certified, sometimes on their own where there's just simply a private organization. They create an LLC. Many options are available here. The thing I really want to stress is that we've worked with countless families on this issue, coming up with diverse solutions depending on the circumstances. And again, let's make this an entree to Proposition 19. So many of us want to preserve our home for the next generation. This can be particularly appropriate if your child has been living at home and your home is the only four walls they've ever known. I mean, living there after you're gone is something so important to you that you're just devoted to the idea. And along comes Proposition 19, which materially affects this. So let's take just a minute and talk about what it means and what it does, and the fact that we can avoid the worst possible outcome. Before Prop 19, which became law about a little over a year ago, you could pass along your residence to your child or children. And if it was your residence, there was no property tax increase. I mean, an incredible benefit. You could pass along a second home, a rental property, in virtually every case also without a property tax increase. Now, Prop 19 changed all that. That's out the window. It's a sea change. Now, if you want to pass along your residence to your child, if your child makes it her residence, there's a break, not complete protection, but there is a break. The first $1 million in assessed value is protected. And I think in a moment, we'll go through an example to show what this means. So if your child makes it her residence, there's still going to be a potentially huge property tax increase, notwithstanding some articles that said the contrary, that said, if your child lives in the home, there's no problem. There is in the Bay Area because our homes are so valuable. If your residence goes to your kid and they don't make it the residence, there's a 100% reassessment. We're talking about the property taxes going from $5,000, $8,000 a year to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 per year. The point here for special needs planning is that if your dream was to have the house continue, adding another $600,000 to $1 million is necessary just to be sure that the special needs trust can afford the property taxes going forward. So it takes planning. Now, let's go to the example of Jill and Amos here. Okay, a residence valued at about $3 million, small house, right?
Small house in the Bay Area, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, just minuscule, perhaps. Yeah. Okay, the assessed value is very, very low, and they're paying property taxes of maybe $3,000 a year, maybe $3,500 a year. When mom here passes away, that's Jill, and her daughter moves in. Okay, the property value is $3 million, but because the daughter makes it her residence, we're going to knock off $1 million, and the new assessed value is going to be $2 million. Property taxes will increase by $20,000 to $25,000 a year in this example. It's still huge. Amos, identical situation, identical, same property values. The radical difference is that when he passes away and his daughter continues living in the home, there is no property tax increase. Dramatic difference. What's the difference? Obviously, there's a mystery here. Well, the answer is, what else? Planning. For a great many individuals living in the area here, we've already taken the steps necessary to protect and preserve the current level of property taxes, even after they passed away, when presumptively under Prop 19, there's going to be an increase. So Prop 19, Jill and Amos, Jill didn't plan. Maybe she relaxed because she thought that there's no increase if the house becomes the residence of her daughter. Again, that's a myth. That's not true. But what did Amos do? He planned. It's not simple what we have to do. We do have solutions. We've taken care of this for many individuals already. So it's something we refer to as the Gilfix in the Pole Dynasty LLC. Frankly, there's no one size fits all. It isn't like we have one LLC. It isn't like that at all. It depends on tax issues. It depends on a number of factors about the approach that we can take. The important point is that for anybody who has real property. Prop 19 is something that you have to address in the context of special needs planning, just to preserve the option of keeping the house and not being forced to sell it. You have to think about this. If you can lock in low property taxes for your next generation right now, you could be saving $500,000 to $1 million over the lifetime of your child. And more importantly, make it feasible for the retention of the house for the benefit of your child, keeping it in the family.
And we did a recent webinar on this on
Yeah.
our Gilfix Law YouTube channel. We did a 1-hour presentation on that. It already is getting a lot of traction. So if you have questions about it, you can look at that and talk to us. We can prevent these reassessments. As Mike said, it can be $500,000, $1 million in difference in the difference for your child's future and what we can save if we take these steps. So let's kind of tie this all together. What is involved in setting up a good special needs plan? Well, again, here's our book, Special Needs Trust Creation and Management Guide. It is available on Amazon. If you Google Gilfix Special Needs Trust, I think on Amazon it should come up. Of course, anybody who works with us, we can give you a copy. But you need to set up that special needs trust for your child. If you don't have one, you need to set it up, and it needs to be part of a comprehensive estate plan, meaning you have to have a good revocable living trust, your own power of attorney document, make sure that your assets are protected and that they go where you want them to go to that special needs trust, and it needs to be a separate document. We've seen some plans where people have set up living trusts where they have sort of language within their living trust that says, when I die, then the special needs trust is created by these paragraphs for my child. That can be very problematic for a lot of reasons, one of which we talked about other family members, if they want to leave money for the benefit of your child, if you don't have a separate special needs trust, well, no trust exists until you pass away. It's part of your trust. It doesn't get created until you pass away. There are a lot of other tax reasons why we want you to have that special needs trust created right away. If you already have one, we can take a fresh look at it. We can review it to make sure it's done right or to make sure it's consistent with your current wishes. We need to coordinate it with Prop 19 planning if that's an issue. It may not be an issue for you, but we can very quickly help you to figure out if it is something you need to plan for, and if so, what you need to do for that. This all goes back to what we started with here today. I'm afraid to die. And we hear that from so many people. And when you have to leave the picture, when you step out, the special needs trust can step in and fill not all that a parent does, of course, but on the financial side, on the support side, it can be so critical in supporting your child and filling that role that you filled while you were alive. So what do you need to do? Looking forward, some more specific steps. I just want to be clear, there is no protection or no safety net for your child until a full and comprehensive plan is in place, until it's signed, until it's all set up. We can help you with this, of course. It'd be our privilege to get to help you, as we've helped, I think, thousands of families with special needs planning over the years. Certainly, Mike, do you have any estimate on the number of families we've helped in the special needs area? I mean, it's
the last count, we were about 890 special needs trusts that we've set up, maybe 1,000, and then some by now. It's impressive.
And we know for every family that we help, there are probably 3 or 4 that should have seen us or should have set this up, but never really knew about it, never got the right advice.
Yeah.
You are empowered. You understand this. And we ask you to please spread the word to other families that may not be aware of this. Set up a special needs trust. And don't lose this opportunity while this is top of mind. Once you create this, I can't tell you how many times we've had clients leave our office when they sign the documents, get them in place, where they're in tears, literally in tears, and they give us hugs. And it's probably the most rewarding part of what we do. We help families of all types. We help ultra high net worth families. We help normal families. We help all different types of families. But when the special needs issue is there, we just know what a difference it can make. And it's a privilege to get to help people. So meet with us. We can review your existing plan. We can add or update an existing special needs trust structure. If you don't have an estate plan in place, of course, we can help you with all of that. It's just so critical. And we want to be aware of this Prop 19 issue. It is the law, and it can be massively important when it comes to protecting your child over the long term. And we just want to make an offer that, for those of you who don't know us yet, if you want to chat with us, contact our office, and we're happy to answer some basic questions for a few minutes, for 5, 10, 15 minutes for a chat, just to answer questions about how we do things and to make sure that we're a match. We're not the right match for everybody, but we would love to get the chance to help you and your family. And how can you take action? Again, special needs trust is probably the most important document you'll ever sign. don't delay. If you did one a while ago and you're not sure if it's still right, let's take a fresh look. It's the sun beaming down on me. And let's make sure it's structured right. Let's make sure your plan is comprehensive. Let's make sure the right people are named to back you up and to back your kids up when you're not there. And we'd welcome the chance to get to know you. You can email nadia@gilfix.com if you'd like us to reach out to you to set a meeting. You can also enter your contact information in the Q&A function if you'd like us to reach out to you. You can also, of course, call our office at 650-493-8070.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please share it, like the video, subscribe here, and stay tuned for more free legal estate planning and financial educational videos.